My name is Denny Cherry. I get to now do my pitch for my company. I work for Denny Cherry and Associates Consulting, based out of San Diego, California. That is about, and Malvern, Pennsylvania, when Joey's actually doing some work and not hanging out at Pass all week. So please do make sure to turn your cell phones off. I've already turned mine off because mine's going to be up here and I'm going to be down there for most of the day. So if you haven't seen Speaker Night before, if you weren't here last year to see what we were doing, the basic gist of this is we've got 4 presenters each day. Tomorrow we actually only have 3. Unfortunately, somebody had to back out due to a family emergency. So I'll be doing a song and dance up here for an extra 5 or 10 minutes tomorrow. So each of those 4 presenters is going to get a 5-minute presentation. They are on their own to time it this year. So it'll be, passes provided, the exact same level of support that we get as speakers at a regular session, which is 0. So they give us a microphone and a plug to plug our laptop into and then tell us to go nuts. After those 5 minutes are over, we will kick them slightly to the side so the next person can start getting their laptop set up. And our esteemed panel of judges, will then give them information back about their feedback. Hey, I've met my step goal for today already. Excellent. They will then get some feedback from those judges about their presentation. Once it's done, the judges will pick a winner for today and a runner-up. Friday afternoon, in the 15 whole minutes we have between round 3 and the finals, the judges will pick, of the 3 runners-up, a wild card person to be in the finals as well. And then on the finals on Friday afternoon, we'll do the exact same thing over again. But at the end of that, somebody is going to win a lovely prize. Our prize this year is a session at the 2016 Pass Summit. So we will know a speaker, our one and only speaker. We will know them as of Friday afternoon. You also get a lovely 12 months to panic about what you're going to present about and change it over and over and over again. Yeah, please don't get a job for Microsoft like the last guy did. That required an awful lot of emails to sort out what was going to happen. You also get some free training from a gentleman named Omar Rivas, who is the husband of a woman that works for Microsoft. There she is in the back. He is nice enough to donate a few hours of actual professional coaching to the winner and to the runner-up on Friday. Obviously, you get bragging rights as you have defeated 11 of your foes in front of a video camera. And you get to put this awesome logo on your blog for the next 12 months. So our judges today are the always lovely Mark Sims from Microsoft, Joey D'Antoni, my personal whipping boy, Alan Hurt, Mr. I Love Disneyland, and always on, Andre Common, the Flying Dutchman, and Hope Foley, who screwed up my I only want to have one Microsoft employee on the dais by getting a job at Microsoft in the last few weeks. So we have our 4 speakers for today. We have Todd, who I'm not going to try to slaughter his last name. We've got William Durkin. We've got Ginger Grant. And we've got Ed Watson. So I have the coolest job here because I'm friends with pretty much all these people that are going to be competing this week, and they've all tried to bribe me. What they forgot is I'm not a judge. So if we can get Todd to come on up. Todd has been working with SQL Server since back in the good old days, so give him a round of applause. Back in 1999. He's on the board of the Denver SQL Server User Group. He's had a few jobs over the years, DBA, developer, architect. God help you, he was a manager. And he is, I believe, now a consultant?
Or full-time DBA for BAE Systems.
Full-time DBA for BAE Systems. All right. Well, I will let you do your thing, sir.
Cool. Thanks, Denny. Well, appreciate you guys coming out. My name is Todd Kleinhans. This is the life cycle of a query in virtual reality. This presentation was built with Unreal Engine 4, a video game engine, and all the PDFs referenced come to us from our good friends at Redgate. These are all available for free to download, and I did get permission to use all the screenshots that you guys are about to see. If you guys heard in the keynote this morning, 1.5 million databases are running in Azure, and that's just in Azure. But every single day, every minute, there are billions and billions of queries being run, and all of them follow some kind of life cycle. And if you understand the life cycle, you'll understand a little bit better how SQL Server works, and it'll also provide a framework for further optimization and troubleshooting. This is a brief overview of where we're going to be going. We're not going to hit all these points, but we are going to start up here at the client side, follow a figure 8 pattern from the relational engine down into the storage engine and back out again. So I'll switch gears here. All right, you're sitting in front of your workstation. You run a query. What happens behind the scenes? Your request gets packaged up across a TCP/IP endpoint and goes from the client to the server side, where the first stop is a SQL Server network interface. And the first thing it does, it'll unpack it. It'll determine if it is a valid SQL command, and then it will send that SQL command to the first stop of the relational engine, which is the command parser. The command parser will pop open the syntax, determine if it's a valid syntax, and it'll check to see if the query has already been run before. In our case, we're going to say it hasn't, and it's going to then output what is known as a query tree from the command parser into the crown jewel of the relational engine, which is known as the query optimizer. The query optimizer is a cost-based optimizer. It will determine how to run your query in the least amount of time. It is not looking for the best query plan, it's looking for the most efficient query plan. Redgate has provided several books that will tell you a little bit more information on it. First up is a SQL Server Query Optimizer by Benjamin Navarez. A little bit out of date, but still has some excellent information. Being able to tune things using dynamic management views at the instance level and also what is happening inside of the database itself. Then also we have execution plans. Being able to read those in Management Studio will help you better understand what's happening behind the scenes. The output of the query optimizer is what's known as an execution plan. The execution plan goes into the query executor or executioner, however you want to phrase it, where we have an execution plan, but we don't have any data yet. And for the data, we need to cross over this river of OLADB into the storage engine. And it is at the storage engine that controls all of the inflow and outflow of the storage engine back to different components. This big guy, he's our access manager. He's controlling the flow of all of our data. SQL Server works everything in memory. It's all about the memory, and memory. If it doesn't exist in memory, it has to retrieve it from memory. And for that, the buffer manager does control all of the buckets that we see here. All of them control very many different aspects of SQL Server, but the biggest one, of course, is the one that our big friend here is carrying, which is, of course, the data bucket. In a multi-user system, you have to have concurrency, which is maintained by the transaction manager. Transaction manager controls the lock manager and the log manager. Also, with regards to performance of a read-write system, the performance of the transaction log is critical. If you can't read-write quickly to the transaction log, it will affect the performance of the system. Kayleen Delaney does an excellent job of providing many cool examples of how to demonstrate blocking behavior, different transaction isolation levels, and lots of really cool examples. And then Gail Shaw and Tony Davis provide a lot of information with regards to transaction log performance. It's amazing what happens inside of that one file per database and the care and feeding of it. Once we have our data, we come back out of the storage engine, back across the river of OLADB onto the query executor. We have our execution plan, which is like the recipe. We have data pages, which are very much like ingredients. You bring them together, you cook them, and you have your final result set. Your final result set gets packaged up and goes back out the way it came in on. So it'll go back out the server network interface, back to the client across the same endpoint it came in on, which happened to be the TCP/IP endpoint, and you return back to your workstation. Appreciate you guys coming out here to Speaker Auto. My name is Todd Kleinhans. If you have any further questions, feel free to contact me, email, Twitter, and website. Thank you very much.
All right. The judgy people, you may begin. Want to start with Hope?
Hello. Are we on? We're
There
on?
we go.
Okay. No, I've not seen anybody do anything like this in a presentation, so it was kind of a cool concept. It kind of, though, it kind of made a little choppiness to the flow, kind of having to navigate that. So overall good, but the choppiness of the flow, having to maneuver that was a little bit. So
Yeah, I like the concept. You were a little bit over, like it was like right at 5:05, 5:10. I started a second late, so I wasn't quite clear on that. The sequencing is rough. I like the concept. I don't think the books add too much to the story, especially in 5 minutes. You waste a lot of time talking about that when you, I think, could have talked in a little bit more detail about how the query execution happens.
So the key thing for me was I didn't know which story it was you were trying to tell. I didn't know if it was this is the story of the path through sequel, or this is where you go to get more resources to learn about each step, or a mix of both. So a little bit more context about here's the journey we're going to go on, and here's what you should have at the end of it will help frame people's journey as they go through.
Again, overall good job. You know, as Joey said, just a couple seconds over. That's neither here nor there. I'm also of the opinion, sort of tell us what you're going to tell us and tell us again, and then at sort of the very end, tie it all back together. Sort of this is sort of the journey we went on. The other thing that you know, just from visual cues, like the graphics, it was basically taking your slides and putting up like little things. It'd be cool if the graphics matched to a degree or somehow better than just like a sort of Castle looking thing. And like when you crossed, you said the River Role DB. I didn't see any water. Like, so it's just a little, I mean, I'm a detour-oriented guy.
You've been to Disneyland too much.
But I'm a detour, but it's just like little things like that become, but I think, again, along with Hope, nobody else is really doing stuff like that, so this is really cool stuff in its own way.
Yeah, really cool stuff. Not very suitable for a long session, though. The thing I didn't like was the fact that everybody stared at the screen and nobody looked at you. You became like the voiceover of the whatever happened on the screen, and I would kind of like a session where people look at you and you have a story to tell, and that wouldn't work with this. But for a 5-minute session, it was good.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, judges. Thank you, sir. We now give you the boot. So next up, we have William Durkin, and my mic has gotten quiet on me. So William Durkin is a lovely Englishman who's been lost in Germany for way too long. He thinks he speaks German now. So William's a SQL Server consultant, over 10 years of experience in SQL Server, working with SQL Server at various companies. He's the past chapter leader for his local past user group, and speaks regularly at a variety of conferences, kind of all over the place. So let me flip you on here. That is your slide. Yeah, it helps if you turn it on.
Yep. Okay. Okay, welcome everybody. As I've already said, my name's William Durkin, Englishman lost in Germany. I'm going to be talking about dynamic data masking today, which is a new feature in SQL 2016. But first of all, can I see everybody's hands in the air? Keep them up if you store safe, sensitive data in a database. That's pretty much everybody. Okay, so hands back down. Just a little bit of German for beginners for you guys. This is a really big, important word in Germany, Datenschutzgesetz, which means data protection law. Sure, you guys have got them over here in America as well, in pretty much every country. I would say pretty much every country. It's really, really important for a lot of companies to pay attention to security. So obviously with dynamic data masking, we're looking at trying to extend security inside SQL Server. Just as an extra one for you, German is very, very famous for having very long words. This is the longest word in the German language. It's 80 characters long, and I will not give you the translation now. We can talk about that later if you're interested. But it's 80 characters. So, demo time. Let's hope this works. And okay, can we see that? Excellent. So, we're on a standard installation of the previous CTP of SQL Server, so version 2.3, CTP 2.3. So what we're going to do, first of all, is set up the database. And we have a table as our demo. Simple, straightforward, a few columns, and we use different functions, as we can see here, masked with function, and there are several different options of actually masking the data. As we can see here, we have a default, an email, and something called partial. This gives you a little bit of flexibility on how to actually do that. We're going to just create the table, put in a couple of test entries, and because I created this database, or this table, we can see the data is in here. Everything's fine. Acts as a standard table. What we're going to do now is create a test user which has select permissions on the table and run a select as the user. Obviously, the data masking is already activated. And we see as the user, because he's only got select rights, he only sees the data, but as a masked data. The functions mentioned before dictate exactly what the masking is, but we can see the data is masked. So I will remove that permission now. Sorry, grant the permission, so the user can now see the unmasked data. Very unfortunate, in my opinion, is at the moment, unmask is a database-wide option. You give the permission and everything is unmasked. It's not a table or column option. Maybe that'll get changed, I don't know. I would hope so. So let's take away that permission. Excuse me. And now let's try a little bit of cheating to see if we can get into the data anyway. If I cast a data type to an incompatible data type, like here, we're trying to cast text to an integer value, the error message returns the data unmasked, which is not cool. There's another way of unmasking integer data. Unfortunately, this actually works correctly on CTP 2.3. On CTP 2.4, it's broken, meaning the data will be unmasked on 2.4. So there's a newer version, but it's actually got a regression in there. So, but that's too slow, because we obviously don't know exactly what's going on in the database there. We have to guess at data types. We have to go laboriously through. So try and push that into our own table, which fails, because the user does not have permission to create a table in a database. However, all users have permission to create temp tables, and we see inside the temp table all the data unmasked. So we say it's a safe security feature. It's wonderful from Microsoft's marketing point, but it's not really secure as of now. I hope they'll fix it. I would expect them to do so. But right now, security is not what they really say it is. OK, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Always good to pick on the hosts.
Yeah, of course.
Mark, I'll let you go first this time. Where's your microphone go? There's a power button, Mark.
So yeah, I definitely believe in shame-based engineering, so full kudos on that one. I like the way you set up a story, walked through. Thank you for using Zoom it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Grant will be very happy wherever he is.
Yes.
And no, I set it up and then really not just showed the feature, but also showed the limitations in the area where stuff break down. So nice.
Yeah, all in all, I really liked it. The one thing and this is more of a tip, I'm not thinking it detracted from your presentation much, but if you could demo, it's always tricky to deal with like demoing and standing up, because you were leaned over a little bit and not projecting as well. But aside from that, everything was good. One other thing that I picked up from Rob Volk when I saw one of his presentations recently is you use pale yellow for highlighting code in demos.
Yeah.
It makes it a little easier to see the code from the audience.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I thought that was, I thought it was great. I like a little bit of humor. You had to, it's hard to, in 5 minutes to add much of anything. So brave on doing a demo and a little bit of humor, Zoom it. So I got nothing here to be critical about.
Oh, and by the way, the German thing was really cool.
A German joke, who would have thought?
Yeah, right. So a couple things I liked. I'm not going to address some of the stuff that these guys talked about.
Mm-hmm.
You started off a little bit nervous. It was understandable, but you recovered from it. but it's just that conscious, like, oh, okay, there was a couple stutters, and then you got on your way. I did like the fact that you gave some opinions, and that you showed this is what it is, but you didn't go too negative, nor did you go super. You were just like, this is what it is, and that you did compare, like, say, it's broken in CTP 2.4 versus 2.3, so you gave them some good information. So if they're using one thing and then they switch to another, but yeah, overall, pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also had Zoom it, yay, as written as a comment. He's been trying to bribe me the whole time. We actually hang out at almost every conference that we go to. We see each other, and we figured out about a year ago that we only live an hour apart. Yep, Germany is a big place. So
Thankfully, Holland's like that big.
yeah. So well done, and we'll see that bottle of whiskey up here somewhere.
I better get some of that. I think Mark wants some too. So thank you, Lillian.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, don't forget to return the mic back. So next up, we have Ginger Grant. So Ginger has been working with the Microsoft BI stack for over 10 years now. Most recently as a consultant for, where are you at these days? Still at Pragmatic Works, okay, at Pragmatic Works. She is now currently a virtual technology solutions provider, or VTSP, for Microsoft, helping Microsoft work with their clients to get stuff deployed. Don't forget to put your mic on. She's a member of the GDI in Phoenix, in a local chapter of a national organization created to help and support interest in STEM in our community by holding classes as networking events to get more people interested in development. You didn't think I copied all this down into my slide deck, did you? I did change it from I'm to she's. So she's a regular speaker at a number of events, including her local PASS user group and various SQL Saturdays. And she's on the organizing committee for the upcoming SQL Saturday this coming April in, where are you? April 16th in Phoenix. Awesome. So if anybody's, in the area. Yeah, it is your slide deck.
Now, audio problems. So when I've dropped into a situation at a client's where I'm trying to figure out, what I need to do, well, there's some obvious things. Make sure nobody's doing trunk and load, tune the database, and something that I've played with recently that you may not have heard of, which is SSIS Balanced Data Distributor, which is a free tool which is available in Microsoft's SQL Server feature pack, and I'll be talking about that today. So for today's talking points, I'm going to talk about the SQL Server feature pack, and of course focus on the SSIS Balanced Data Distributor tour. I'm going to show you a little bit of how you can actually implement it, and talk about some usage considerations for performance tuning. All right, I won't bore you with my slides, but I am Ginger Grant, and pretty much what Denny just said, and I'm really happy to be here at Speaker Idol. So hopefully now that I've caught your interest, let me take a look at our demo on SSIS. And this is going to be a relatively short demo, as you might guess, because I've got a really simple SSIS package here that we are going to look at tuning. So like I said, it's relatively simple. All I'm doing is taking some source information, and then of course just putting it into a data distributor, back into the database from another source. All right, so back to slides. All right, so SSIS, the SQL Server feature pack. It's got 41 different things in here, and given the interest of time, you know that I'm not going to go through all those. But it's been available for every version of SQL since 2005. And there are a whole bunch of tools available in there in addition to the ones we're talking about. It's got a lot of Oracle, SAP drivers in addition to SSIS tools. Of course, the PowerShell is in there as well. And there's a freely available from Microsoft. But one thing to do, remember, if you do download these, they are individual items, so you don't have to download the ones you don't want, and they do not come together. So what we're going to talk about is a balanced data distributor. And it was first released with 2008 R2. And what it does is it looks at the hardware resources that you have internally and uses them to figure out what's the best way to allocate resources over the CPU and memory that you have available. So it's dynamically determining how many records you can use. And I found when I've used it that it's possible to decrease SSIS packages processing by as much as 50%. And I'll show you this because it is really, really easy. Just to show you that I really did install it, this is the install screen. When you install it, you see absolutely nothing. When you install it, you can just go and get a drink and come back. But when you install it, you don't see anything until you go into SSIS. So let's look at what you get when you go into SSIS here. Now I've got 2 packages. And this is, of course, my before. And I'm going to go ahead and move this over so that we can see all the controls here. So you'll see this is the balanced data distributor tool that is available. It's what you see when it's installed. And if I look at the one where I implemented, all you do to implement it is you literally copy your code. Now when you do this and you run it, what it does is it splits it so that so it determines which way is the best way to run it through. So if you look at how that it is running through, I'll zoom it up here in a second. What we can see, it takes a still, so I'll let it run, is it automatically is splitting the available items. And so you can see there's 99,000 there on the left. And if we go out, it splits it unevenly. And the reason why is this is a VM, so it's kind of resource constraint, but it determines that it's doing less, it determines how it would be best to split the items so you have 2 processes running at the same time. So it's an unequal distribution, which is not something that you would necessarily think that would work, but that's what Microsoft has determined would be the best way to process this package. And this is why you could see that you could easily decrease it by 50%, because what you're basically doing is you're doing the same code twice. All right, so caveats. Of course, there's times to use it, and there are times not to use it. If you have source bottleneck issues, if the reason that you are slow is because your source is really slow, it's not going to help you. If you are memory constrained, it's not going to help because it can only use the available memory. And if you have processes that are running on it like SharePoint, it's not going to help. So I thank you very much for listening to me today, and my contact information is available if you have any additional questions for me.
All right. Andre, I'll let you go first this time. Conveniently, you have the microphone.
Switch it back on. Yeah, so you used the picture and it had the license information underneath, so well done. That's good. I noticed you said "so" a lot. That people start noticing that after a while when you say "so," and that.
Yeah, that's what I wrote in a blog. I said, there's things that I know not to do, and I do them anyway.
I'm sure I have 100 of those as well. But overall, I liked it. Maybe it was a bit much. I had to back off myself a bit every now and then. But no, I liked it. So well done.
So a lot of, I like the fact that you basically told us what you were going to tell us, you showed it to us, and then you kind of wrapped up, gave us some caveats. So that was good. I thought the flow could have been a little better in the sense that you kind of showed the SSIS stuff, and then you went back to some things, and then you kind of reintroduced it. You probably could have not shown the SSIS package earlier and then just introduced it all as part of when you just went in to do your demo, just because it was kind of a little disjoint. And the one thing that you said at one point that sort of stuck with me, was you said, of course. That's sort of an assumption that everybody in the room knows it, and they may not, right? The other thing I noticed was because you were juggling the microphone and the remote with the laser, which when you used it was effective, you're trying to juggle everything. So next time I just want, I know it's hard to clip it or find a way to put down the microphone so that you could actually use the tools that you had in your hand.
Yeah, I didn't think about a microphone.
Yeah, no. but I'm just wondering, you could tell you were kind of struggling with the hands thing.
Funny story. The reason I always wear a vest when I'm presenting is because I gave up trying to find a good place to clip a mic. And I always take off anything around my neck because it almost always bounces off the mic. It's just one of those little annoying things. And the other, and just as a pure AV, most of the time the projectors suck, the screens are terrible, and they'll do things like have half of your slides clipped off on one side. So just one of the things I always like to do is always go through the entire slide deck from the back of the room, if you have the time and the opportunity, just to see things like, oh, it looked great on my laptop, it looks great on the left screen, but whoever set up the right screen fuzzed it, so when you use all the real estate for, say, like the title slide, it snips off all the letters, which it did on that one. Trust nothing.
Yeah.
Trust
what,
but verify.
What Mark said about the microphone, I liked your feature pack slide and the way you showed like all the things in the featured pack. It's like a good use of small fonts because it shows how much stuff is in there. I think a really cool slide before you went straight to in and out of demo would have been to do like an overall process flow of what you were going to demo, almost like an SSIS package, but in a PowerPoint slide. And then show it in demo, just because it's a little higher level, and an audience might not be, especially this kind of audiences, might not be fully familiar with SSIS. And you were a little over. That was the one other thing we had.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely something I was not aware of, so the information was good. Just the little audio bit in the beginning kind of rattled you just a hair, and you can tell there was a little bit of nerves. So, and there was a little bit too where it was, you gave a bunch of information and then you told it what it was. So it was, I didn't quite understand what it was. I think you should have introed it. This is what this is, and then gave the information about it. So other than that, it's good.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Ginger. Our next presenter here is Ed Watson, and I switched slide. Stupid switch box. So our next presenter here is Ed Watson, Microsoft MVP, a SQL Gator on Twitter. And that's pretty much all he sent about himself, so I'll just let him go.
Are we good? Audio? Everybody in here? All right, let's get started. Power BI. Self-service BI for the people. What we're going to do today in this short amount of time is demonstrate the power of Power BI and answer the most important question we are facing today, which is, do I look good in this hat? No, seriously. Who is the greatest coach of all time? That perplexes people every day at work. You've heard it at the water cooler. So what we're going to do, we're going to grab some data from the college football data warehouse. We're going to load it into Power BI. We're going to give it a little manipulation. We're going to add 2 custom fields. We're going to count the number of games in there so that we can equalize for different eras between the 2 coaches, because now they play a lot more games than they used to in the past. And then we're going to graph that, and all in 5 minutes. So let's get going. The first contestant, Bear Houndstooth Hat Bryant, famous coach from Alabama, probably considered the greatest coach of all time. I think we need to challenge that. Let's load his data. We're going to go out on the website. We're going to grab his first team that he coached for, Maryland, just to show how that works. We're going to grab the data, the URL, load it into Power BI. Here we see it's a web item. We're going to cut and paste it. We're going to grab the table. We're going to edit it. This gives us all the data for all the coaches. We just want to filter by Bear Bryant. So we've loaded that into a data set for Maryland. We're going to do, it's going to take a little longer than 5 minutes, so we're going to do the other teams off-site. We're going to come in and grab the last team, Alabama, the team that he's famous for. We're going to do something similar. We're going to cut and paste, load in the Alabama data. However, with Power BI, we can't add all those tables together. We have to take the last query, the last data set, and we're going to append the other 3 queries that we did, Maryland, Texas A&M, and Kentucky, the 4 teams that he coached for. Now we have a complete career data set of just Bear Bryant's wins and losses, points for, points against, etc. Now the competitor, Steve the Visor Spurrier, probably, in my opinion, the greatest coach of all time, probably not everyone else's. Let's load his data. We're going to skip a little bit because it's redundant. We're going to do Florida and Duke off to the side, and we'll do his last team, South Carolina, here in the demo. We're going to grab their totals, copy the URL into Power BI, And we're going to grab that table and filter it, all their data, just so we get Steve Spurrier's data. Now we're going to append those queries, grab Florida and Duke. So he has a complete career set as well. Now we have 2 compatible data sets. And then we're going to add our fields in there so that we can compare these. Because remember, Bear Bryant coached some years, they only played 9 games. Now we're up to like 14. So let's compare them, the houndstooth hat versus the visor. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 columns really quickly. The first one is just a calculated field where we're adding wins, losses, and ties. The other one is where we're taking the delta between the wins and losses, and we're going to divide that by the number of games. So now we have a comparable data set. We're going to load it into a graph. The red is for Bear Bryant. The blue is for Coach Spurrier. Within a couple minutes, we can drop that in, add a graph, and boom, there you see Coach Spurrier's, oh, wait. Looks like Bear Bryant was actually better. This shows 13.77 points on average across a career that he beat other teams versus Coach Spurrier's 11.84. So between those 2 data sets, we have a KPI now that we can compare and determine who's the greatest of all time. Thank you very much.
I liked what you did. I liked the video. I liked the use of alliteration in the beginning. The career database was cool. I would have liked a little bit more of your data story because it wasn't 100% clear to me what the data you were comparing was. And then, especially since you did a video, zoom in on the graph title because it's freaking not adjustable in Power BI. Damn it. I'll hand off to a Microsoft employee.
No, I always appreciate a little humor, so that was nice, you know, to make it not dry. I really like the video, and it's definitely a great way to cram a lot into 5 minutes. So I liked it, but it did get a bit like, we're doing this. It was, you know, it was a little fast. It was almost like we should have had yakety sax going at the bottom. So that would have been nice. Other than that, I thought good job.
No, always great to see a demo that Power BI is actually that easy to use. The challenge was you sped the video up, a little bit? I had to, yeah. Yeah, I might have cut those pieces out, but basically the actionable pieces, if I wanted to kind of follow along at home, I was kind of straining a little bit to see both from seeing the details of kind of what you were doing and then seeing some of the data coming in, and probably just do data load once, data load twice, same thing. I probably would have just cut out the second one.
And you did end up like 42 seconds short.
Yeah. So, excellent optimization.
Good use of compression.
Overall, good job. Few comments. Like, for example, on that first slide where you said power, 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 you put it twice on the slide but said it 3 times. Now, again, small details like that, but that's the kind of stuff that makes a difference if you're trying to make it all linear, right? I did like the personal touches. Now, you did say demo, if I'm not mistaken, but it was a video. So that you need to be very clear that, you know, in the interest of time, I recorded a video, you know, you kind of, it was very clear because you weren't typing and that stuff was happening. But the expectation is that when somebody says demo, it's live and real. It's not a video. Just be really careful of that. The other thing, just as a general comment, while here in the States get the football thing, although I like pro football over college, but that's a whole different thing. There you go. Well, that's what I say. So going international, that's the kind of talk that may not work because they can't relate to the subject. And even, let's face it, there are plenty of people in our space that don't like sports at all. So you have to be really careful with the examples you choose. Now, I know when I do my demos, like I'll sometimes name clusters, certain things, and whatever, but I know sometimes it doesn't translate, but I try and make things that are at least more universal if I'm going to speak to a bigger, especially an international audience.
Yeah, I have no idea who these guys are. No idea. Yeah, so the video thing, that So,
and
so
egg.
the video thing, you should say that there's a video coming, because I was watching you and I missed the first part of your demo because of the video, because I wasn't aware that it was moving already, because I didn't see you do anything. Second little thing, I like to move around on the stage as well a lot, and I hate it when the podium makes a lot of sound when you walk around. And you walked around while the video was playing, and it was yeah. I hate to stand still as well, but if the podium makes a lot of noise, maybe you should try doing that. That was it. I liked it. That was good.
Cool. Thank you, Ed. Thank you, judges. Judges, go away. So, our esteemed panel of drunken fools will now go outside and figure out who our winner and our runner-up is. So one of you has to elect yourself as speaker. So you're going for runner-up and then winner.
So overall, we wanted to say everybody really did a good job. It's really the details that make the difference here. There was nobody that really just. So I've judged when it was Tech Ed, I judged Speaker Idol, and there were some people that just really blew it. I mean, just totally blew it. You guys were all great. Came down to the little details. So, but our first runner-up is Ed, and the winner of this round is William.
William.
So-
All right. So, William will be presenting on Friday evening then, or Friday afternoon at 3:30, and he will attempt to do this again. Ed, be here at 3:15 because you might be presenting at 3:30. So you are both more than welcome to do the same presentation. If you know, William, you're obviously presenting it on Friday, so you can do the same session. You can do a different deck if you want, totally up to you. Ed, should you be chosen, obviously same session, different session, totally up to you. Do make sure you do your speaker evals. That's how PASS knows what speakers they want to see year after year, because apparently nobody's submitting evals because I keep getting picked. And I've only got 6 presentations this year. It's awesome. Granted, 4 of them are this, so that's kind of cheating. Also, make sure you do your full conference eval as well. There's some prizes somewhere. There's QR codes. What? Fabulous prizes. That's right. Fabulous prizes from PASS. Obviously, you can go to the website. You can go through the guidebook app, or there's QR codes kind of all over the place and signage all over here. So thank you all very much for coming to our first round of Speaker Idol for 2015. And I hopefully will see everybody back here tomorrow afternoon. Thank you. Oh, that's right. The cat team started buying beer 2 minutes ago or in 58 minutes? 2 minutes ago, the cat team